People pay good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth.
Everyone pretend podcasting isn't boring.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
The Virgil was built in 1923. Today, it's one of the most exclusive buildings in Manhattan.
Hi, I'm the new maid.
With such wealth comes the expectation of the highest quality of service.
It's a lot of lux.
This building is a temple to Satan. Each month we must pay with a human sacrifice. Tonight, you are the offering.
Gotcha.
You little shit! There has to be a way out of here.
The building was designed to be a death trap.
Our offering is on the loose. Be on the lookout. I just dropped her picture in the group chat.
Fuck you.
No, fuck you.
No, bitch. Fuck you.
Fuck you!
I don't know what is going on in here. But Ray, I am in a forgiving mood. Who the fuck are you?
Where did you learn how to fight like that?
Prison.
Hey folks, welcome to a special episode of The Projection Booth. I'm your host, Mike White. On this episode, I'm talking with Jeffrey Pitts and Duncan McRae. They were two people behind the sound of They Will Kill You. It is a new movie starring Zazie Beetz, and it is kind of phasing out from theaters right now. Should be on demand pretty darn soon. Had a great time watching this in the theater. Wonderful sound mix, and I'm really excited for you guys to hear more of how that was put together. Gotta say, there's a little bit of spoilery things in this, so if you don't want any twists or turns ruined, please go ahead, turn off the show, go watch the movie, come on back. You know how this works. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this interview. Jeff, I want to start with you. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey and how you got into working with sound?
I think all of us generally have a bug for audio at some point, and then we just follow the breadcrumbs. And everybody's story is different, but I'm pretty much self-taught and moved out here in 2006 and got a job in doing some like technical thing because I build computers and did all that kind of stuff as well. And so I got a job at a studio because I could fix a computer problem that they were having. So in the interview, he was like, we have this problem with the thing. And I was like, oh, I can fix that. So I fixed that, got into the studio, and then it turned into me editing some stuff on the side. And I remember this really crazy movie. Like something wasn't cut for the movie. The whole movie, there's like a whole pass of a prop or something that wasn't cut. So I was like, oh, I'll cut it. So I just went into the ADR studio and just cut this thing that was missing and just sent it over to the stage. And then from then it was like, oh, okay, keep going.
Good initiative you got there, Mr. Pitts.
Yeah, I would say that the best thing to do is to focus on the foundations of your craft and make sure that you're not faking it and that you know why you're doing a thing. If you have all those foundations, then you're going to be doing well. Might not be successful. I think that's luck, but you will be doing well and keep practicing. That's the thing. Is like when I wasn't working, I was constantly lifting scenes off of DVDs and just cutting them and doing that. I am very scrappy in that way, and I just kind of came up and did everything myself.
Duncan, what's your journey? How'd you get into audio?
I was born and raised on the east coast of Australia and was mostly heavy into music all growing up and playing in bands and chasing the rock star dream, I suppose. And ended up going to college for audio production, university as we would call it back home. And while I was there, I had a call from my mother, actually, who said that one of her great lifelong friends has been working at a film studio in Sydney, and they had a sound room, as she called it. And she went ahead and signed me up for 2 weeks work experience, which is like an internship over here in the States, without my knowing. And then I had to pack my stuff for a couple of weeks and went down to Sydney. And when I showed up, I realized it actually was the premier film mixing facility in the country. I walked into a 96 fader Neve DFC console in front of me and hearing about the catalog of films the guys had recently worked on and completed. I was pretty blown away. I spent a couple of weeks there learning a lot from the guys in a new perspective to use a lot of the same fundamentals that we have in the music realm. And it really just took me away. So I went all in on that, packed up my stuff, moved down to Sydney and yeah, just continued at it.
Wow. What year was that?
That was the end of 2010.
So by that time, Sydney was already kind of a hotbed of production and post-production work, I imagine.
Oh, absolutely. And for a lot longer before that as well. The film that they had more recently completed before I got there was Baz Luhrmann's Australia, for which they put a lot of investment into the facility. And Peter Weir was recently there also for The Way Back at the time, of which it turns out, flash forward to now, and one of the mixers on that project is another mixing partner of mine in town here. So it's an interesting roundabout kind of way into it. It's cool.
Have you guys ever worked on a project together before this one, or?
Oh yeah. Duncan, how many projects? Like when you first moved here, what project was that when you first moved here that you were teching on something?
Yeah, it was Mad Max Fury Road.
Yeah, but I wasn't on that. I wish I was. That would have been fun as hell. But I think we did. Did we do Death Note together, or was it something
Corporate
before
Animals?
that?
Maybe.
Oh yeah, maybe that. We've done a couple projects together. Duncan's always has the best behavior on the stage. He knows exactly how to have the room feel. It's brilliant. He's like the maitre d' of the room. He's a great mixer, but he's also a great guy. I try to work with Duncan as much as I can. And yeah, we have a shorthand at this point, I'd say. He's mixed a couple of projects for me. And yeah. And I've cut sound effects on some shows that I wasn't even supervising that's then mixed. So there's been a lot of going back and forth.
Yeah. When do they bring you guys into a project? Are you right there at the inception, kind of planning things out, or?
It depends. Like on this specific, on They Will Kill You, I was brought in at the script phase before they even shot the movie. Basically, they wanted to figure out who was going to do the sound at the end, and during production and stuff like that, I could help with some of the stuff they needed to do. Or I had my own notes about the script, so I shared those with Kirill, and yeah, so that was cool coming in that early. I've been on movies where it's like you come on, hey, we need you to fix this thing, right? So you're coming in towards the end, And I've had stuff where everything's in the can. We're starting picture editorial right now, and now we're going to start to look for somebody to work sound. So it depends on the different productions.
What are some of those notes that you had for the early parts of the production?
When I read a script, I'll read a script with a notepad up, and I'll just type down things as I read, just things that occur to me as I read them.
A good lesson I learned from Jeff when he's working through this phase initially on is be honest. Describe your emotion, how you're feeling, and how you could either enhance that and take it further in that direction if that is the intent of the filmmakers, or even just describing that was how you reacted. If that isn't the intent, how are you able to steer things in a way that the audience can feel what is really intended? And that's a strong strength of Jeff.
So one of the big notes I had on this movie, these characters reincarnate, they resurrect, right? So as I was reading the script, I was like, it'd be cool if they did this agonal breathing. Like when people die, they do this agonal breathing in their death phase, right? So I thought, wouldn't it be cool if they did the agonal breathing in reverse back out? And that was one of the notes. And not to toot my own horn, but they shot them gasping for air when they resurrected. It became like a beat for the characters, as if they're gasping for air when they come back, which kind of adds a little bit of realism to this thing that's just totally not real. Like these notes, I literally write at the top. I'm writing this off to finish the script. Very interesting. I took these notes as I read the script. There'll be misspellings, and because I'm just like reading and writing and reading and writing as I go through. And I find it to be really important. It's almost like the first time you watch a movie is so important. I try to zen out of sometimes where I like release everything to try to watch a movie again for the first time, which is hard to do, but I think it's really important to be open to or be receptive to changes and things like that.
Sometimes I think about editing and just how, and they call it the invisible art. Is it more, I want people to know that there are good sounds going on here, but I also don't want to bring attention to it?
It depends. Sometimes you want sounds that are going to feel so realistic and so perfect that when people watch, they don't think about it. And then other times you want to have something that can happen abruptly or change or shift where it shocks them in a certain way that might be good or maybe make them just question, what's that? When the first knife in the first fight scene, when heavy breathing guy like throws that knife and we do this like anime sound on the knife flying through, it's like, that's just going to stick out. Like you're either going to like that or not, but you're going to be in the moment and you're going to be like, what's going on? That's not something that's just going to land in there. Like things like, I feel like that first fight scene does feel very natural. Like it feels like it would be like, that's how it would be if you were in that space and witnessing that happen. So yeah, you just really, it depends.
There's a lot of choices that we make as we're mixing, where how much do you want to lead the audience into either feeling a certain thing or catching any key story points, where sometimes the idea behind it is that upon a second viewing, you're going to catch these things earlier on, a character sound of something specific. But for example, in our film, They Will Kill You, an early example of that is as Asia is led into her room for the first time and she's wheeling her suitcase in and bounces across the rug on the floor, and we have a different textural hollowness at a certain point as the wheel bounces, which is obvious when you have seen the film and you're watching it a second time through, but not necessarily too much that at the beginning you're completely thrown. It's enough taste in there and texture to say this is a story point, but more to come later.
There are so many scenes where the sound just amplifies everything so well, especially when it comes to like the sounds of the knives and just the clanging of those. That first big battle that they have in the hotel room, the way that the camera's moving all around. Jeff, you mentioned anime, and it just feels like we've moved almost into a different world, and everything is just so heightened with that scene.
One of the things I wanted to do with the film was like pay homage to some of the old styles like kung fu movies or anime. This is all like being fed with Kirill, right? It's like he loves that too. He wants that too. And then I thought about things like, okay, what if every scene has its own feel for like how the fights actually feel? Like that first fight feels so realistic. And then the fire axe scene is a bit surreal. And then like in the final fight, like I wanted to like shift gears like in the middle of the fight. Wanted to keep things dynamic in a way that had these like really sudden jarring shifts in the sequences, which I think we were able to achieve that.
Jeff, you mentioned coming in pretty early and giving these thoughts very early on. They're not recording a lot of these sounds on the stage, right? You just have to build this up completely on your own.
So I did record all the swords here at my studio, and I also have a 4-track Tascam deck that I ran a ton of sounds through, and I did a lot of like synthetic whooshes. Synthesized a lot of synthetic whooshes and stuff like that. Then I just ran them through tape, like crappy tape too, not the good stuff. Like this is all the bad stuff, and it gives it a flavor. It's really interesting to work with that kind of stuff. But anyways, Kirill gave me a samurai sword that he had, and he gave me the machete, the main machete in the movie. He said, "Be careful with this because it's actually really sharp. This is not they're not swinging this around at anybody. This is like when we're doing a close up of the machete. This is what we're looking at. This like really sharp, razor sharp machete." And the final scene is a butcher knife or cleaver, and then the machete. So I had the cleaver and the machete in my studio, and I'm just beating the machete with my cleaver. And by the time I was done with this, the cleaver was just like warped and bent and chipped, and just I was like, oh my God, we're going to just throw this away. And I look at the sword, and it's like there's no damage at all to this thing. It's like some special steel. Like I'm like, this is like a legitimate sword. This is like something you'd actually want to have in a zombie invasion or something.
Was it a Hattori Hanzo blade?
Wouldn't that be great? He makes a machete. The only one. That'd be a good movie, right? Everybody else is fighting with the katanas, and then you got somebody with the machete.
And Duncan, when do you get brought onto the project? Also at the beginning?
Typically, my role is historically at the end of the filmmaking process as a re-recording mixer, but the best possible results always come from early collaboration, where bringing somebody on at the end in a position like mine, we have the ability to completely destroy any of the ideas that have been laid before us, or enhance them and add flavor and add to the storytelling process. It's always better if, even during or around the time of the first spotting sessions, understanding the direction of the filmmakers, adding in any of the ideas that we might have, because we are all collaborators in this, and just being an ear to bounce ideas off of from Jeff and his team, and being as involved earlier on as possible has always proven to be the best results.
We do temp mixes as the filmmaking process, as the sausage is being made. There's these temps and then testing and temps and then testing. And there are places there to try out ideas. And I think it's important I don't think you were on every temp, but I definitely was like trying to make an effort to have Duncan be on as many temps as possible to make sure that his imprint is on all of it.
Scheduling conflicts sometimes catch us out there at those times, but those idea building milestones of temp mixes that we have are so important to try something, see if it worked, resonate with that for a while, and then come back later and say, that wasn't the right idea, or yes, and we can do more with it. Let's expand on it and go beyond what we thought we could, of which we were able to do a bit of that in this film.
What's got to be a little freeing to be in this more supernatural milieu and not have to be a slave to realism all the time, because I'm sure you guys have had to be like, oh no, this wouldn't sound like this in real life. I have to tone this back or whatever it is, and just really try to go for that, even if it's not real, to give that illusion of realism. But with this, I'm sure you can go a little nuts.
It was like go nuts in this direction, and that is. I always see creativity as like a forest, and like let's go back to the machete. You literally hack your way a mile in one direction, and that is where you're at on that project. And like another project might be totally in another direction, but on this one, it was really cool to record all these swords, have all these cool fight sounds. Like I know how anime sounds are made, but actually sitting down and going, okay, so we do frequency modulation, and we're going to ramp things in this direction like this, and actually have a whole chain set up so I can like throw any sound in there, like make these anime sounds out of it. Yeah, that's super fun, right? Recording stuff onto the tape deck, and then the tape deck's got this weird pitch thing. So there's like towards the end of the sword fight with the pig, like the clashes, I just was like whipping them up and down in pitch and stuff. And when I layered these all together, it sounded like liquid shings. That's all the only way I can describe it. It's just crazy. It's just fun to find those things, that you were not like, oh, I'm actively going to go for this one thing. You know what you're doing, but you're not like, okay, I'm going to find this weird, all these different shings that are the same recording, then pitched in weird ways and then played on top of each other. That kind of evolved from doing it.
Well, it's nice that you even have the room to experiment. It's not just like, I want this, just give me that. Screw off. I don't need any brilliant ideas.
Nobody ever does that. Everybody I've worked with has let me do whatever I want.
Jeff has an amazing, contagious trait of pushing ourselves to get the most creative and unique ideas executed as possible as well. And that's a brilliant trait to have in the room with you at all times. So it encourages a lot of fun and a lot of laughs when we do things, and when we execute something for the first time and we stop and we look around the room and everyone's cracking up laughing. That may be the right thing for that moment. Sometimes that kind of reaction is the wrong direction, but man, we have a really good time with it, just pushing these boundaries of hyper-realism at times.
You have to be bold with some of this stuff. In the pig fight, when the pig charges Asia, it happened on the stage of the final. It wasn't even something that was before that. But I was like, what if, like, right when we go into what should be the biggest sound moment, right? Because he charges in, it's huge, and then he's cling, 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 all this. I said, what if we take it all and make it mono, and then make it really thin sounding, and like for just it's 3 or 4 hits before, and then 3 or 4 hits where it just felt like old school kung fu, like just very old school mono, and then he kicks her, and then it goes back out, and then his tentacles fly around the room, and then it's like the contrasting is like one of the things that I really loved about this project. Is like going from that mono all the way back out to Atmos, right?
This might be a really silly question, but when it comes to all these fights and everything, we're talking about the sounds of the swords and everything. Where are all of the human sounds coming from? Because obviously there's a lot of grunting and a lot of screams and these things. All post, I reckon.
You'd be surprised. I think a lot of that was production sound. We did do ADR passes for everybody for efforts and things like that. But I think that was probably the one that it mattered the most in, because the fire axe scene had these huge music, but even there, like when the guy's like, oh no, like all that stuff is all part of it.
Yeah, shout out to the actors for jumping into character like that. If you've stood in front of a microphone in a dead silent room and tried to create or recreate efforts from a fight, is challenging to do, especially in a believable way. So getting really physical with that sort of stuff has huge benefit and pays off, and these guys do that.
Are they like throwing themselves around?
Jeff can talk more about what they were doing in the room, but I know the result was just, it felt really authentic to it.
We had an idea for the pig went through the most variation of anything in the process. And it was really, it was kind of like, what do we want it to be? Do we want it to be funny pig? Do we want it to be mean pig? We're like, what's the best way to do this thing? It was an exploration for everybody on the film. One of the things that we did is we mixed in, gave it this, okay, there's souls inside of it. So like it will just scream at you, and it'll just be like the screams of just agonizing souls just yelling at you. And we brought somebody in for group, and we had her scream like, it's like that kind of screaming isn't something you can just do without damaging your stuff. You have to like really, you're going to damage your stuff. So we bring her in. She says she can do it. Okay. And we have her do it. And it's just like blood curdling screams. And it turned into, I think she did it for like 15, 20 minutes. So it was like the rest of her day must have been like 2 or 3 days must have been gone after that. But I appreciate the work.
Jeff, you were talking about working with the music too. What's your relationship when it comes to the music and how that changes? You're talking about temp tracks. I'm sure it's not the final bed as you're working on this thing.
Yeah, the music does change. We had a music editor, an exceptional music editor, Louis, who was on this, and he was doing stuff like taking tracks and then adding like more music into those tracks and stuff, which was really cool. I haven't seen that from a music editor before. But like for the fire act scene, for instance, we switched through key songs there like 3 times. And then the little fight before the pig was on what's her name's head, that also went through much like different music. And the music defines how, like, the frequencies that it takes is going to change how your stuff sounds. So you might make different decisions based on what the music is, which definitely happened.
Yeah, you can't say necessarily, oh, we'll just swap out this piece of music to something else and move on. It results in a million other changes that we make on the fly as we go, particularly when we initially build a scene and we're listening to each other's material. We're choosing the most impactful way to play a certain sound, whether that's get out of the way because the music's doing its thing in the higher end, so we can occupy the lower end and pack a big punch there, or vice versa as well. There could be an opening in different areas in the higher frequency range that we try to target, even if the sound isn't necessarily a sword shing or something like that. And then when you swap that out from, let's say, a dance track to a rock and roll track, they occupy completely different ranges of frequencies. So we got to look at every moment and step through it to make sure that, yeah, it's still providing that same impact that we needed in the beginning.
The apartment building itself is a character in this film because it's not all action all the time, but how do you kind of like bring the actual space to life? Because there's some bad things going on at this place.
The different floors had different sounds based on where you were in the building. One of the things that we really wanted was like when you first came into the building and you first walked through the servant area, that it felt international. So we wanted like different languages accumulating. I don't know how noticeable that is in the final mix, but it was like we wanted it to feel like all of this is going together. Because people say, oh, Patricia Arquette's Irish sounds weird. And I'm like, yeah, but she's been in this building with these people for 100 years. Wouldn't your accent get weird after 100 years of sitting with all these different people? Like, you probably can speak Portuguese, Italian, French. Like, you probably can do everything at this point. Yeah, and then, like, obviously, like on the top floor, it's like Dante's Inferno. This was the direction from the director, was like, it's like Dante's Inferno, but cold. So, like, we did everything. And that was actually hard because it was like we had to like you can't just have all these static backgrounds that just play constantly. So you have to kind of like modulate those things and make them feel like they're constantly changing. You want the ear not to be static, basically.
I find that I have a completely different experience if I just listen to a movie rather than listen and watch. Do you guys just close your eyes a lot of times and just listen to what's going on rather than even pay attention to the visuals, or you always have to be locked into that?
In editorial, I don't, because I'm like working down here and then the picture will be up there, right? The picture's always running, but I'm not like I'm focused on the editorial screens and the other stuff. So there's a lot of me not actually paying attention to what's actually on the screen. But if I'm going to sit down and watch the movie and listen for any kind of stuff, I'm doing that staring at the screen, because that's what's important.
Yeah, by the time it comes to us at the mix, we're more really focused on the screen, on the visuals as well. But there's interesting times where it's the opposite of the chicken and the egg scenario, where we may be working with something that is very early on in visual effects or very early animatics if we're working in an animated film. And we're able to use our imagination of what something might eventually look like or feel like, and direct things in that kind of way, where this could track back to our temp mixes that we were talking about earlier, where early on in the project, where we do a temp mix where we are exploring some creative ideas for things that we can't see yet, nobody has seen yet, because that's still in development. So as we are putting ideas to the screen and to our ears, that pass of the film is often then provided to the visual department, so visual effects team or animation team, and they're hearing what we've been doing and are reacting to that at times as well. So where something may not have sparkle or shimmer, and we create an aesthetic that has a layer of that, that may trigger another response of a visually creative idea, and following that. Or if it is a really busy action scene, we may have vehicles of different kinds moving in different ways off screen and behind us, or even across the screen, where we may have a single storyboard hand-drawn image describing for 6 seconds the main character's movement. We need to tell a story with that, so we add in things that then inspire what we eventually do see. We need to sit back in the mix and watch the film as an audience would. So our eyes are up on the screen and feeling things for as much of the first time as we can convince ourselves and trick our brains to see and feel things for the first time. Where an audience is going to come in, they're not looking at the mixing console with us, and they aren't looking at Pro Tools and everything at that point. We trust that we have all of the elements that we need to then look up and rack focus with everything at our fingertips to tell that story.
I was going to ask, you mentioned Pro Tools. Is that your tool du jour, or is that like where you live most of your life?
When it comes to mixing, typically, yes. We're pretty much all in Pro Tools, using different other tools in our toolkit at the same time, different plugins for processing things in different ways, depending on the need of the film at the time. But when it comes to Jeff's world, he has a whole playground in his room. That,
yeah. I do have a whole playground, but it all feeds into Pro Tools. There's a lot of great DAWs out there, and there's a lot of debate about what's the best DAW. I'm not going to debate computers or religion, but I will say that if you need to transfer work between multiple people, it's nice to have a stable language that you can use, and you can interchange that with virtually anybody. And that is Pro Tools. If that's, I don't know what the solution is to what that would look like if it wasn't Pro Tools, but yeah, that's what it is now.
So Duncan, you never get to actually hack around things with machetes and butcher knives or anything. Are you jealous of Jeff here?
Yes, Duncan. Are you jealous of me?
I'm grateful that I wasn't in the room with Jeff when he was swinging a blade around with great force.
I did have to think about it, because these walls are fabric. So there was some calculation to exactly how much I could swing before I destroy my walls.
When do you actually get to sit down and watch this with an audience, or do you ever get that opportunity?
The temp screenings are great to go to. I definitely go to as many of those as I can. Sometimes there's no room to go, like they're like packed in a certain way. But if I can go to every temp screening, I will do that, because you will get ideas based off the reaction of the audience. Like, even just sitting there in a space where you have no control over anything, you will also have ideas come to you watching in that space. So I will absolutely watch it like that. Going into the wild and watching it just in the Metroplex or whatever, I haven't done that. I thought about doing that, but I did not do that. I don't know. What about you, Duncan?
In the visual realm, there's an aspect of when you're working on the picture with a perfectly calibrated monitor, you'll throw it onto another device, a consumer thing, an iPad or a laptop, and you get a look at what things are going to translate to the public in. That's another aspect of the preview screenings that we enjoy as well, is how is our work translating out in the real world into an environment that we hope is as perfect as possible. Sometimes, as we know, the theaters aren't necessarily as well looked after as filmmakers we would like them to be. So we sometimes need to think about how that's going to play. The experience of a film like this with a packed audience is a whole nother level, and a good reminder of why we want to go to the cinema and why we all like to go to the cinema. That shared reaction of experiencing the modern day campfire story like that is irreplaceable. Where watching different content at home, it can be the exact right thing for the intended audience if you're making a episodic or something for the home viewing experience. But a film like this plays amazing at home, but outstanding in a theater. So we love that.
I'm not the one to think of this. It's been said. But when you go to a theater and you sit down in a theater, the distractions are gone. Your phone is put away. You are there and you're focused on the screen. And I think we rob ourselves of that if we just are constantly watching things on a streaming service and constantly hitting pause on it and checking our phones all the time. And we don't get the full experience of what the filmmakers intended us to have if we do it that way. And so I think it is important to go to the theater and just witness these things in the theater.
You guys have both been working in this industry for a while, and I'm curious, do you have any particular favorite films or even television shows where you're just like, this is primo. This is kind of like, I wish I could have done work like this.
Well, I appreciate lots of different film, even films that people be like, oh, that's not even that good. There's ideas in that could be good, or spark an idea in me from watching that movie. And so I think I have a lot of films in my head that are like that are like Death Proof is like one of the best car chases in a movie ever, right? And somebody go, what, on Death Proof? Isn't that's, and then maybe they'll go watch it and maybe they won't. But for me, I think the editorial of that car chase is exceptional. Again, Ford versus Ferrari, great cars, great everything. Some movies that maybe did really well that are car movies, maybe I don't even think that they sounded that good. But that's me personally. So it's just really, I think we all have that, you know?
I'm always pretty blown away by coming from a coastal country town in Australia to now living here in Los Angeles. Like, a lot of my dear friends are people whom I have looked up to for my entire career. And that's really cool to be able to say, oh, we're going to go and have a beer. And then next week we're mixing a film together now. And I think flashback to myself 15, 20 years ago, and I wouldn't believe the experiences that I've been able to have. But it's been awesome to sit next to people and think, wow, I grew up loving the films and stories that they've been telling. And now we're sitting here telling stories together. Is pretty awesome.
What's next for you, Duncan?
Next up, I have another World War II film for Apple TV coming out later in the year, and a couple of episodic series as well, which are always great too. It's a different muscle to flex than in the feature film business, but it's always a good challenge.
How about you, Jeff?
I will be helping out on one of these World War II movies. And then after that, I think there's some ghost story we're going to be going into.
So how are you going to fit the Japanese Zero inside of your recording studio to record those gunshots?
That's a really good question. Like, we'd have to take it apart and bring it in as bits. We bring the bits in and then record them. Yeah. And my wife's, what's this Japanese zero doing here?
Honey, it's for work.
How much did this cost? It's a write-off. What do you want?
Guys, thank you so much for your time. This was so great talking with you. I really appreciate it.
Of course, it was fun.
Yeah, this has been awesome, Mike. Thank you very much.